I'm 84 years old, and I need to say something I should have said 40 years ago. I was a problem. Not partly, not sometimes, not in ways that were understandable, given my upbringing or my stress or the era I grew up in. Those are all true things, and none of them matter. What matters is that for the better part of 3 decades, I was the reason my family walked on eggshells in their own home. And I didn't know it. Or maybe I knew it and called it something else. Called it high standards. Called it discipline. Called it providing. I'm telling you this because nobody talks about it from this side. You hear about the damage. You hear from the children who grew up in those houses. You rarely hear from the man who was the house. I'm that man, and I'm talking. My name doesn't matter. What matters is I was a contractor. Built houses for other people for 36 years. Good ones. Solid ones. Houses that are still standing. And I could not, for the life of me, figure out why my own house kept crumbling. I had a wife, Donna. We were married 31 years before she left. Not died, left. Packed 2 suitcases on a Thursday afternoon while I was at a job site, and by the time I came home, she was gone. She left a note on the kitchen counter that said 4 words. I can't anymore, Harold. 4 words. 31 years and 4 words. I told myself she was a problem. For a long time, longer than I want to admit, I told myself she overreacted, that she was sensitive, that she didn't understand the pressure I was under, that I'd worked myself half to death for that family, and she walked out like none of it counted. I believed that, genuinely believed it. For almost 10 years, I believed it. The turning point came when I was 73. My son Carl called me. Carl was 46 at the time, lived 3 states away. Called on Christmas and Father's Day, and that was about it. But he called on a random Tuesday in October, and I knew immediately something was different, because Carl never called on Tuesdays. He said he'd been in therapy, 2 years of it, and his therapist had encouraged him to make this call. He said, and I remember this so clearly I could write it word for word. He said, "Dad, I need to tell you what it was like to grow up in our house. Not to punish you, because I can't move forward until I say it and you hear it." I almost stopped him. My first instinct, my reflex, the one built over 73 years, was to defend, to explain, to reframe, to say yes, but. I didn't. I don't know why. Maybe I was tired. Maybe some part of me had known this call was coming for decades, and I just didn't have the fight left. I let him talk. He talked for 40 minutes. He talked about coming home from school and checking my car in the driveway before he came inside, to gauge my mood before he entered his own house. He talked about dinner table silences so thick he used to count the tiles on the floor to get through them. He talked about the time he was 12 and brought home a drawing he'd made at school, and I looked at it for 2 seconds and said, "What is this supposed to be?" and went back to the newspaper. He remembered that. 34 years later, he remembered the exact words. I didn't remember it at all. That's the part that broke me. He'd carried that moment for 34 years, and I didn't even remember it happening. He talked about his sister Linda, who stopped bringing friends home at age 10 because she was embarrassed. not of the house, of me, of not knowing which version of me would be there. When he finished, I was quiet for a long time. And then I said the only true thing I had. I said, "You're right, I'm sorry. I don't know if sorry is enough, but it's what I have." He was quiet too. Then he said, "It's a start, Dad." We talked for another hour. First real conversation we'd had in 40 years. Here is what I learned. What I want you to hear if you're the person in your house with the volume, with the mood, with the standards nobody can meet. Are you listening? Your family is not adapting to you. They are surviving you. There is a difference, and it matters enormously. I thought because nobody left the table, nobody was being hurt. I thought because the kids grew up and got jobs and made lives, I'd done it right. I thought Donna staying for 31 years meant things were fine. None of that was fine. They were managing me the way you manage a weather system, watching the sky, checking the forecast, staying inside when it looked bad. You don't want to be weather. You want to be the house, stable, safe, the thing they run toward, not away from. The practical truth, the thing I actually changed, was this. I learned to pause before I spoke. Not a long pause, 3 seconds, just enough to ask myself, is what I'm about to say going to make this person feel smaller or larger? That's the only question, smaller or larger. For 73 years, every word out of my mouth was about being right, about standards, about how things should be done. Nobody felt larger around me. They felt assessed, graded, found wanting. 3 seconds. That's all it takes to choose differently. Carl and I talk every week now. Linda came to visit last spring, first time in 9 years. She hugged me at the door, and I held on longer than I should have, and she let me. Donna remarried years ago, and she deserved every bit of happiness she found. I'm 84. I live alone. I built beautiful houses for other people, and I burned down my own. You might be doing the same thing right now, today, tonight at dinner, not with fire, with silence, with sighs, with the look that makes everyone suddenly find somewhere else to be. The people in your house are not the problem. I know because I spent 40 years thinking they were. I was wrong. And if you're sitting there recognizing yourself in any of this, don't wait until you're 73 and your son calls on a Tuesday. Pick up the phone or put it down. Walk into whatever room they're in. And for once in your life, listen.